Good morning, folks. This little screencast will walk through the process of actually trying to create an assessment after you've created items in item bank. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually hit create, select new assessment, and then hit the create button. It brings up this window that has a few things that you want to take care of. The first one being give it a name, and I'm just going to give it that same name below. Um, then there's a section below that will ask you something about whether or not you actually want to be able to randomize it. And it also warns you that there's some limited capability in terms of reporting, so I'm just going to choose not to do that. And what I do first is actually just hit create. It'll tell you your assessment's been created, and if you go back over to the other side, to assessments, you'll see that that test is actually there and it's got the basic stuff you want. So I'm going to go back to it again and start working on it. Now the first thing that I want to do is actually establish a standard for this. If you happen to be in one of the core areas that had the core curriculum, what you might want to look at is the core itself, is the Common Core itself. And then maybe take a look at subject, and it's either math or language arts at this point. And then any particular grade level. So I'm going to look at English language arts 11 through 12. And it says it's loading, and what it tells you is that you've got 800 items out there that are under each one of these. So in reading there's 800 items, in writing 305, so forth, and all of those things could be searched further by going through the keyword or going through the drop down, so that it gives you a better idea of exactly what's there. If on the other hand you're not one of those areas, and that's more specifically who this is aimed at, if you're like me, I don't have a Common Core, and so I'm going to have to actually establish most of my own questions, at least for a while. So I go to Utah Common Core, and then I want to go to Visual Arts, and I want to go to Ceramics. Now it gives me these items that are possible, and it says there's 15 items there, one there, and one there. All of these items are things that I think I probably put in myself at this point. So I can click on that one, and if I click on that one, that's the one that all of my test questions used, so that'll be the easiest place for me to get to it. So I've done that, and at this point I want to start to add items. So click Add Items. When you come up to this window, this is probably one of the most useful windows that you can get to. First of all, there's the selected standards. Now that was the standard that I chose on all of my questions because I was trying to keep this first couple of tests simple so that I could search them easily, write them easily. Now if I go into the next part and take the item banks, I've got all these possibilities for item banks, but one of the things that I already did was I already checked the other ones to find out if there was anything there, and there isn't. So I'm just going to select the Salt Lake item bank and update it, and it says it's loading. And this can take a while sometimes. So I'll let it do it this time, but after this I'll skip over it. And yes, it's taking a while. But there they are. It says it found 15 items, and it goes down and has a whole selection of possibilities. Now, to start out with, I'm just going to add a couple from this. This last thing that I was doing was about glazing, so it talks about dry foot, so I'll add that one. And what happens over here is that you can see that it's been updated. I'll look down a little bit lower, and I say, okay, the minimum temperature, which clay, I want to hold that one, so I'll add that one to it. But if I wanted to find something more specific about this, now those two items are already saved in it, so if I went to review and looked at it, says that's my test so far. And if I look at the overview tab, it says these are the two questions, and it allows you to actually rearrange them by pulling these up or down. But if I wanted to add a few more items and I wanted to get more specific, then I could actually go in and enter a keyword. For example, in my area, one of the things that I use a lot is a pug mill, and the students needed to actually be familiar with that on the last test. So I will update the filters, and again it takes a while to load, so I'll pause. At that time it actually took about 15 seconds for it to actually find the results, but what you can see now is that it's actually just limited it down to those three questions. Now these four questions. These four questions, I was using the same set of answers for a set of questions that um, were all kind of similar in nature in terms of forming clay. So I've got that when I look down through it and I say, tool used for removing large bumps most efficiently. Well, it's not a pug mill. If I go all the way down, there is the one that said pug mill and the machine that's used for mixing clay together. So I'll add that one. Now if I go back up, I didn't have to save anything, it's just automatically done it. And so it says I've got 3 items, 1 standard, and I've got no passages. So I look at the review on it, there's the questions. Now I could, like I said, go over and actually change the order on those in the overview section, so I could rearrange them here. But I'm going to go back to the review section and take a look at one other thing. If, for example, you wanted to change it right there, you can actually just type in what you want the order to be. So if I want the order to change, I could actually just assign a number to these, particularly if you're working off of a test that you've already given before. So if I look at this, I could also remove it. So most of the things that you'd need to do with the test are right there. Then if I actually look at booklet shows you several different ways that this could actually be printed out. Depending on how you're planning on doing it, maybe some of you would actually like to print it out, and probably a lot of you would actually be doing this on the web. But that allows you to actually generate that and take a look at it. Now the last thing that you need to know on there is that it also has the Publish tab. And the Publish tab allows you to get this to the administration so that they can actually see what you're doing with this, and it also allows you to share it with other people. So in this particular case, I'm going to hit Publish. Now the one thing that some people, including myself, had thought about was that it's really hard to get rid of that. Well, and not in the case of tests. In the case of an assessment, you can actually get rid of it at any point. So I'm going to publish it out. And it gives you a last piece of information, tells you what the test is about, when things were actually put in place, and then it gives you the standards so that you got the basic information that you actually needed. Now at this point, I want to go back and just look at the assessments again, make sure it's there, and there it is. It says that I published it. It says there's one down here I haven't published because I'm actually working on that one right now. And then it says you could actually go in and duplicate it. Now that's again one of the most useful features. So that you can actually just go in and duplicate a test and then change it based on what you actually want to do. So rearrange the answers, rearrange the questions, add new questions, add new answers, but all of that's possible using the duplicate tab. But I can also get rid of the test by clicking that and then clicking one at the bottom down here. Okay. But I want to actually be back over to Illuminate first to show you what's happened over there. So in Illuminate, you get to see the test question. Look at my list of assessments again, and there it showed up at the top. Now I haven't tested anybody on it yet, but it actually is where you could actually now share this out with somebody else. So if I click that, there it comes up, and there's the share tab that you needed that they talked about already. So most of you should have training on that already. The last thing that I want to point out is that one of the things that's always useful, and we kind of forget about it, is that Help tab. So if you come over into the Help for Item Bank, it gives you a lot of different possibilities. Most of these have some kind of a video associated with them so that you can actually go through and figure this out if this isn't sufficient. The other thing that I would really suggest is if you happen to be one of the people that's actually working with a core area, probably the person to check with is Mr. Chatterton, because he has done a lot more work with this than I have. But in terms of creating it, I hope this has given you what you need to actually get started. Thank you very much.